You know, it's funny. I was thinking this morning about how much of our language, just our everyday coffee shop language, is completely obsessed with light.
Oh, absolutely. It is
Huh?
everywhere once you really start to notice it.
Right. We get a bright idea. We want
Yeah.
to be clear about something.
Hmm.
Someone's smart. They're brilliant.
And if a situation is suspicious, it's shady.
Exactly. It's like we can't help ourselves. We're, I don't know, addicted to the metaphor.
Well, it's wired into us. I mean, biologically, we're heliotropic. We literally turn toward the light. We need it.
Sure.
But what's so fascinating is when you move past biology and, casual language, and you look at theology, specifically at the foundational texts of Christianity and Islam,
Okay.
suddenly light isn't just a metaphor for being smart or something.
It gets heavier.
Much heavier. In these traditions, light becomes like the primary language for talking about what you can't describe. It's how these texts try to explain reality, truth, and ultimately, God.
And that is exactly where we're going today. We're doing a deep dive into what is, you could argue, the most universal symbol in all of human history.
Mm-hmm.
We've got our sources right here. We're talking the Gospel of John, the first epistle of John from the Bible, and then we're going to jump into Surah Al-Barada and the famous Surah An-Nur from the Qur'an.
And we have some pretty serious scholarly commentary to help us get into the Greek and Arabic nuances, which is key.
Precisely. And the mission here is to put them side by side, because we noticed something really interesting in the research phase. You have these two massive world religions, and they are using the exact same word, light, to talk about the divine.
Yeah, it's a classic case of, same but different. The similarities are stunning, but then there are these very subtle, very specific theological differences that, well, they change the whole picture.
So the big question we're trying to answer is, how do these texts use light to define God? And maybe more importantly, because we always want to get to these so what does that mean for how we're supposed to treat each other?
Because, and this is a bit of a spoiler alert, the texts are very clear on this. You can't claim you love the light and then, treat people horribly.
I love that. The theology has to have ethical consequences.
It has to.
Okay, so before we get to behavior, let's start with the definition. We're going to kick things off with the Christian perspective, specifically the Johannine writings. Now, that's just a fancy way of saying books written by John, right?
Right. The Gospel of John and the letters of John. And if you want light imagery in the New Testament, John is your guy. I mean, the other Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, they start with genealogies, birth stories.
Shepherds, mangers, that kind of thing.
Yeah. But John, he starts in the cosmos.
It's very Star Wars opening crawl, isn't it?
It really is. The prologue to the Gospel of John, chapter 1, it opens with, "In the beginning was the Word," the logos. But then almost right away he switches metaphors to light. I think you have the text there.
I do, yeah. This is John 1.4-5. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it.
And that phrase, "the darkness has not overcome it," is so critical. The Greek word can mean overcome, but it can also mean comprehend or master. It sets up this cosmic conflict on page 1.
So it's not just like a lamp in a cozy room. This is an active force.
Exactly. It's an invasion. The sources we looked at describe the coming of Jesus as an invasion of light into a dark world. And the text identifies Jesus explicitly as this light. He calls himself the true light that gives light to everyone.
Okay, so let's pause there. In the Christian framework, this is the incarnation we're talking about. We're not just talking about a guy with some bright ideas.
Right, and that is the core distinction. In Christian theology, Jesus is the embodiment of God's light. The scholars call it God's glory made flesh. So when John talks about light, he's talking about a person. He's saying the abstract truth of God became visible and, well, knowable in a human being.
That is a wild concept, wrapping the infinite in skin. But then we have the first epistle of John, 1 John, which just, it takes it even further. It has what might be the most absolute statement in the whole Bible about God's nature.
1 John 1.5, God is light. In him there is no darkness at all.
God is light. That just hits differently than God has light. It's an equation.
It is. And we have to be careful here because the commentary warns us not to misread it. This isn't a physics lesson. John is not saying God is made of photons.
Right. He's not a giant flashlight in the sky.
No, exactly. It's an ontological metaphor.
Okay, ontological. That's a bit of a $5 word. Let's unpack that.
Yeah, sure. Ontology is just the study of what something is at its core. So when the text says God is light, it's talking about his very nature. It's equating light with absolute holiness, purity, and truth.
Which also says something about the darkness then.
Mm-hmm.
If God is light, then darkness isn't just nighttime.
Exactly. The darkness here is moral. It's sin. It's falsehood, hatred. And the text adds that qualifier. In him, there is no darkness at all. It's absolute. There's no shadow side to this God.
It brings up this image of total transparency. I noticed in our source deck, there was a note on the Eastern Orthodox tradition. They seem to take this God is light thing to another level.
Oh, the Orthodox tradition is fascinating on this. They talk about the uncreated light. It comes from the Transfiguration story in the Gospels.
That's where Jesus goes up the mountain and suddenly starts glowing.
Yes. The text says his face shone like the sun. Now, a modern reader might say, oh, nice symbol. But the Eastern Orthodox theologians say, no, that was the Tabor light.
Tabor being the name of the mountain.
Right. They believe the disciples were briefly allowed to see God's uncreated energy with their physical eyes. They weren't seeing a reflection. They were seeing the nature of God himself.
So for them, it's not just a poetic idea. It's an experience.
Yeah.
The actual atmosphere of God.
Correct. It's not a tool he uses. It's his very presence.
Okay, so let's hold that image.
Yeah.
In the Christian text, God is light. Jesus is that light in human form, and darkness is this hostile force that fails to overcome it. Now, let's pivot. Let's cross over to Islam, because the Qur'an has some incredibly famous verses about light, too.
It does. And the centerpiece, you just can't miss this, is Surah An-Nur, chapter 24, verse 35. It's known as Ayat al-Nur, the verse of light.
And the imagery here is just breathtaking. I mean, listen to this description. It's so visual. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. His light is like a niche in which there is a lamp. The lamp is in a glass. The glass as if it were a pearly white star, lit from a blessed olive tree, light upon light.
It's stunning poetry, light upon light. It's one of the most calligraphed verses in history for a reason, but we have to look at what the scholars say, because there is a very specific nuance here compared to John.
What's the nuance? It sounds pretty similar so far.
Well, remember how 1 John just says God is light, and we called it ontological, that it's his substance?
Yeah.
Muslim commentators are very careful with this verse. They stress that it's a parable, a similitude.
Because it says his light is like a niche.
Exactly. The commentary is clear.
Yeah.
Don't imagine God as a physical thing, a glowing orb. That would limit the creator. In Islamic theology, God is utterly transcendent, unlike anything in creation.
So if you picture a giant lamp, you've missed the point.
You've missed the point. So when the Qur'an says Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth, the consensus is that it means he is the source of all illumination. He's the reason anything is visible or knowable.
I liked how one of the notes put it, without this light, the world is absolute darkness. It's like, imagine a pitch black room. The furniture's all there, but you can't know it. God is the one who flips the switch.
That's a great analogy. But in Islam, nur, the Arabic word for light, almost always has another very specific meaning: guidance.
Guidance. So it's about knowledge versus ignorance.
Yes. The darkness in the Qur'an isn't usually some evil force attacking God. The darkness is the state of being lost. It's ignorance. The light is the guidance that shows you the path.
Speaking of being lost, the source material pointed to these really vivid parables from Surah al-Baqarah, and I have to say, they felt like little horror movies.
They are intense. The Qur'an uses them to describe the tragedy of hypocrisy, of people who get close to the light but don't really possess it.
Okay, so the first one is the fire parable. So someone lights a fire to see. It lights up everything. They can see the dangers, the path. They feel safe. And then, poof, God takes the light away.
But here's the really scary part. He leaves them their physical sight.
Wait, no, the text says they're left deaf, dumb, and blind.
Metaphorically blind. Their eyes still work, but with the light gone, their eyes are useless. It's terrifying because they had the light for a moment.
That's the tragedy. They had it and they lost it.
Precisely. The text suggests their own insincerity caused the light to be removed. They're left with cold ashes.
And the second one with the storm parable, that one felt very visceral.
Yeah. Imagine a violent storm at night, thunder, lightning, total blackness, and people are trying to walk through it.
And they can only move when the lightning flashes.
Right. A flash of lightning, they take a step, then darkness, they freeze, another flash, another step, then darkness again.
Wow, what a powerful image of hesitation.
It is. It shows this fearful transactional relationship with the truth. They don't have the light themselves. They're just reacting to it. They're stranded.
So let's bring these together then. It feels like in the Christian text, the darkness is this aggressive thing trying to overcome the light. But in these Islamic parables, the tragedy is more about people squandering the light they're given.
That's a very good observation. But both traditions absolutely agree on the stakes. The alternative to living in this light is being profoundly and utterly lost.
Which brings us perfectly to our comparison. We've looked at them separately. Let's connect the dots. Where do they converge?
Well, the most obvious one is that both traditions see divine light as revealing, as life-giving. It's always a positive thing. This isn't a harsh interrogation light. It's the light of life itself.
And they both link light to the word. I thought that was a really strong parallel in the notion.
Very strong parallel, yeah. In John, Jesus is both the Word, the Logos, and the light. In Islam, the Qur'an itself is described as a clear light, Nur Mubin.
So in both cases, God's communication to humanity is the light.
Exactly. If you want the light, you go to the Word. That's shared ground.
Okay, but what about the divergence? You hinted at it earlier with the whole essence versus source thing.
Right. This is where a theologian would get really excited. Christianity, in these texts, is very comfortable saying God is light. Jesus says, I am the light of the world. It's an identity statement.
Whereas Islam puts a little bit of a buffer
The
in it.
necessary theological buffer, yes.
Yeah.
To protect the absolute transcendence of God. Islam emphasizes God as the owner of light, the light of the heavens. It's a possessive. He causes it, he guides with it, but he himself is beyond it.
So could we frame it like this? Christianity emphasizes the intimacy of the light God becoming flesh, entering the room, and Islam emphasizes the majesty of the light God illuminating the path from above.
That's a beautiful way to put it. Intimacy versus majesty, and yet, even with that difference, the human experience they call for is remarkably similar.
Okay, but this is the so what part of the deep dive. We can talk about philosophy all day, but how does this change my Tuesday morning?
This is where the rubber meets the road. Because for both faiths, walking in the light is not some mystical feeling, it's an absolute ethical command.
Let's go back to 1 John. The text had that fellowship test.
It's brutal in how simple it is. 1 John 2.9. Anyone who claims to be in the light but hates a brother or sister is still in darkness.
Oof, there's no wiggle room there at all.
None. You can't separate your spirituality from your relationships. You can't be enlightened and also a jerk. It doesn't work.
So living in the light means moral integrity, transparency, love.
All of it. And the sources also reference Ephesians, talking about shining a light on corruption. It says, everything exposed by the light becomes visible.
Right, so it's active.
Yeah.
If you possess the light, you expose the bad stuff hiding in the dark. You stand up against injustice. You don't just, enjoy the glow. You reflect it.
You become a mirror, precisely.
Okay, and what about the Islamic application? Does that beautiful Nietzschean lamp verse connect to everyday behavior?
It does, and the connection is fascinating. Right after that mystical description of the niche in the lamp, the Qur'an shifts to the real world. It starts talking about houses which Allah has ordered to be raised.
Mosques, houses of worship.
Yes, but it describes the people inside them. It says these are people who aren't distracted by business or trade, from remembering God, from prayer, and from giving zakah.
And zakah is the mandatory charity for the poor.
It is, and that's the link. God is light. Therefore, give to the poor, be honest in your business, don't let the shiny objects of the market distract you from the ultimate light.
Wow. It's grounding the mystical right into the economic. You don't usually think of light and pay your fair share in the same breath.
But it's vital. The notes mention that the Qur'an constantly pairs light with justice. There's a description of Judgment Day where the earth will shine with the light of its Lord and none will be wronged.
That's a powerful image.
Yeah.
A world that's fully lit means there are no shadows for injustice to hide in.
Exactly. Darkness allows for oppression. Light ensures accountability.
It feels like both traditions land on this idea of shared human dignity.
That's the ultimate takeaway. If you believe in this light, whether it's the light of Christ in every person, or the fitra, the innate disposition toward God given by Allah, then every single human you meet has a connection to that light.
Which means treating them with dignity isn't just being nice.
It's a requirement of the light itself. If you mistreat someone, you are, in a way, violating the very thing you claim to worship. Compassion and justice are the visible fruits of this invisible light.
That really brings it all home. It's not just what you believe in your head, it's about what radiates out of your life. If you're not glowing with some level of kindness, you might need to check your power source.
And that's a challenge for every single one of us.
To wrap this up, I just keep coming back to that Quranic phrase, light upon light.
It really suggests a journey, doesn't it? Not a static thing. We're always moving from one layer of understanding to the next.
It's a shared vision. God's presence is beautiful, it's guiding, and it's calling all of us out of the shadows.
And that's something we can all appreciate.
So I want to leave you with a thought today. We talked a lot about ancient texts, theology. But here's the challenge that both the Bible and the Qur'an pose to us. We like to think of ourselves as enlightened, people-educated, informed. But if we harbor hatred for a neighbor, or if we just ignore the injustice happening right in front of us, are we actually, by these definitions, still walking in the dark?
That is the question.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll catch you in the next one.